This is a model of Sepphoris here.
What is the yellow?
I'm gonna make her fill up my water. I don't know what the water's like.
Smallest scale of the Acropolis, the lower city, and the water system going over the ridge, coming from the east and feeding the side, this side of the mountain. It's not certain that the water reached the Acropolis itself because it's higher than the level of the aqueduct. So they had to carry it uphill so the governor himself could have water as well. Questions? Let's go. Put your
Almond tree.
And in Hebrew, it's called shaked. The word shakdan we think may come from it. Shakdan means someone who studies, who's serious, who's a good student. He's the first one to bloom. He's the first one to get to work. Okay?
Pomegranate tree.
This seems not worth the trouble.
Yeah.
The leg.
Hey, I know a great place to spy them.
It's called the market. What are we doing?
That's
This is not the low-hanging fruit we talk about.
No, people already got that
Yeah,
one. They
right.
beat us to it. They beat us to that one. I used to spray myself.
Main road here. This is Sepphoris.
Roman road. We could find the Roman screws.
Often the design is for a game which you know to this day is called the 9 Links Wars. It's a simple game in which you need to make 3 in a row and take off the opponent's pieces.
Yeah, you gotta watch it. And what is the decking on?
Say it again for the last ones. We know that Sepphoris in late Roman period may appear from Jewish sources to be a very Jewish city, but the coins of the city also reflect its pagan nature and document a building, a pagan temple. Where is it? In the last seasons, we think we hit it. These pillar parts may have been of that temple, while in an area that's not accessible for you right now, underneath these squares, evidence was found for a building with an apt facing east. This may have been the church of the city. When the city changed from being pagan to being Christian, at least to some degree. But where are all the Jews? Where's the Sanhedrin? Where are the 18 synagogues? You're not seeing any of this. Yeah.
How many synagogues?
And pedestrians' pathways were paved with mosaic floors, sometimes with an inscription, usually praising the person who paid for it. These mosaic floors were often made in the public spaces by contribution of the wealthier members of the community, because I believe it's sort of a tax exemption, tax, what do you say, an alternative. the march of the chariots, proving that this was a very busy street for a very long period. To this day, you can see here.
And look back at the main street here. And then we have the crossroads street here, going the other way. And we can see the grooves for the chariot in the road. More mosaics.
Optics. Optics.
These are beautiful.
Yeah. Because the Jews couldn't tell.
This is a wealthy member of this city. Who is he? What is his religion? What is his source of income? Okay, what can the find tell us? There are many mosaic floors, but they don't tell the story immediately. Even when you see everything, you still need a lot of research to suggest a possible.
Next one over here.
But over there, we have a centaur. Anyone know what a centaur was? How man waffles? What's wrong with the centaur? It has 4 feet.
One thing he's suggests a reconstruction of the whole thing to show you the size of it, the location, indication as well. Here's another piece of the mosaic floor, but again, no real contents.
I think so, yeah.
You see holes. This is not modern vandalism. This is what the whole thing went out of. And usually when you find a mosaic floor, this is how it looks like. And we, in the
Okay, so is he circumcised or not? Sure. I say no.
That part's missing.
I say no.
here's the male consort and the female warriors. I think the fact that he's a male is very clear, very visual. And here, closer to you, you can see hunting scenes, but not exactly of local animals or local vegetation. The subject, the type of animals take us to wilder areas like Africa, and the big river flowing here in the middle is giving us the full answer, especially with the lotus flower. This is the Nile. And if you are not convinced, and look at the big tower with light coming from its top, and the name of the city is given next to it, Alexandria. People, this is a scene of the Nile and the fertility of the Nile in Egypt. And that is personified with the person sitting here with cornucopia, a horn of plenty, a basket full of abundance, and his name, Aegyptus, is also preserved here in the side.
Other mosaics. It's going back over there.
All right. Yeah. Picture op, everybody. That's Well, maybe at night when the chariots went. That is interesting. In the street. Yeah.
Is we have a record of it, but you don't see it. There was a group of men that was being paid by the city that would come and they'd fill all this.
We are definitely on the highest part of the city right now. This is the place of the wealthiest members, okay? The rulers dwelt here. And here you got a big mansion. This is the outside courtyard. And his living room, his tricline, proved to be the most beautiful mosaic floor ever found in Israel. Let's have a look. Okay.
Excuse me.
This is beyond it. This was truly done by professional builders. 1.5 stones were used to give this very high resolution also. Very small stones to form the decoration of this living room, which was again a tricline concept. Where would the sofas place where there's no decoration? This is the pie-shaped area of the sofas, and you can imagine the host with his guests sitting around having wine, maybe some of the pomegranates of the season, and chatting and appreciating, maybe discussing the art that they're seeing in the center of the living room. They were entered from either the back, the service rooms around you. You can see the doorways here and here, or from the outdoor courtyard. You can see sometimes inscriptions and figures, especially the Gentiles, which escorted him, all in different scenes. And the whole subject in the middle is therefore devoted to his figure. So far, which direction does it take us? Clearly pagan again. The frame around it is a typical frame for many mosaic floors. Although most examples are not from the Byzantine period. The date of this, both style and small finds, is 3rd century. This is still late Roman, not before Christianity. And the frame around it has the repeating subject of medallions with subjects inside. Okay? Here's a round medallion and the subject itself is missing. Here's one medallion and you can see a cupid. And so on and so on. The most beautiful parts, the most beautiful medallions are framing two female young figures. One less clearly visible on this side, and very, very clearly visible on that side. This is a masterpiece. You can see the lush, the colors on the skin of her cheek, and her gesture is very special. You feel that she's looking at you. I feel that she's looking at me. Okay, she's like looking in every direction, and her expression is not a smile and not anger. It's some sort of a mysterious, bit of a questioning gesture. And she was given the title Mona Lisa, or Mona Lisa of the Galilee. Who is she? By the fact of the fact that there's a Cupid next to her, I suggest that this is Aphrodite, but it's not totally clear. This too takes us again to pagan direction. When Josephus was captured, and it was already mixed down already, the Jews said, let's be smart. And they opened the gates, and as a result, there's no destruction layer.
For 70 AD, about 140.
I don't think it could. If it didn't participate in the first one, I
We have the
definitely did not
toilet,
participate in the second
the
one.
drain system for the toilet. Looks like they had.
Later, the city was given more pagan
There's a
character.
toilet system here.
Hadrian gave the city Sepphoris a new name, Dio Caesaria, and the coins that she minted at that
Mosaics in
time
the
describe
toilet
also
area.
pagan temple. But apparently the Jews were willing to accept it in order not to upset the authorities and face oppression. Except for a menorah incision. Let's see around the corner, maybe we'll get a better understanding and some answers for the Jewish character.
And then the fort.
جبل الهيمالايا جبال الألب
Plastered stepped pool. You see one here, right next to the small one there, and there are a few more examples scattered around. How do you call a plastered step pool in Jewish context? A mikveh. Okay? And although to me it seems very clear that this is the case, actually in Bar, if you remember that article that was debating that even if it walks like a duck and talks like a duck, it doesn't mean necessarily that it's a duck. They were debating whether this is indeed a mikveh or not. I think it's very clear. This is when the Jews created their neighborhood, their ghetto, in Sepphoris in the 3rd century. And they were still sticking to their traditions.
There's plaster on that wall.
A big issue in the time of the temple.
Hold the water for a mikvah.
But these people, and I think it was mostly the priests who still kept the purity laws as they did in the temple's time. So maybe you could even go beyond and suggest this is where the priests of the Jews dwell. But it's, at the end of the day, an educated guess. But everyone agrees that this is the area where only Jews lived, or Jews lived in a higher concentration. And if indeed so, then you should expect to find a synagogue here. Or if not 18, the 18 mentioned by the sources. Well, we're still looking for it. Maybe it's where the pine trees are. We do know that where the Crusaders, look at that red brick roof, where the Crusaders...
Now headed into the theater. About a third has been restored. Oops, sorry.
That's where I read it.
Exposed to pagan culture. But archaeologists cannot make up their mind whether it's 3rd century or 42nd.
Going to the ancient synagogue.
I tell you right now, I don't know if I'm going to live in this city.
The synagogue.
I know.
I think this is the original street.
Yeah.
Pretty nice town.
Yeah.
Original steps here.
This stage, you're walking on the original street. There's one unit next to it.
This the mikveh?
Oh, actually, I want to tell you the story here.
Did you say that was a mikvah?
Is this the mikveh
I
here?
didn't say anything.
You didn't say anything. We're just misquoting.
This is more like a system in this. Okay, here is the entrance. The entrance to the building was from the street. This is the original street. Underneath it here, you had a water cistern. Also in churches, often you would have water cisterns at the entrance. This is the very entrance. Okay? You are already standing in the side aisle. It didn't last so well. The building had, like in Hamat Tere, a main hall in the side aisle. Would it maybe indicate where the men and the women sit? Did they split at all? These are questions we don't have a clear answer about. This Israel Levin, one of my teachers of the Hebrew Yom, a known scholar for ancient synagogues, argues they never set in different areas. There's not one single reference in this in the literature. And it seems that the gender split in synagogues was a result of Muslim attitude that the Jews later adopted, but nothing Christian. Some Copernicus you want to see. Please come over here, because this or stand on your side, but I want to start at this point. Let's return again to the entrance. Please come this way. And tell me, please, what do you see here? Okay? As you enter the synagogue, the first scene, what we've seen in Hamat Tiberias. The lions at the entrance have moved to be right under the ark where the scrolls are kept. And you can see again the menorah, you can see the shofar, you can see the 4 species. Okay? The incense shovels is replaced by what looks like a special knife to prune the palm trees. But it does appear underneath the depiction of what? Again, I argue it's a combined image of the temple and the ark where the Torah scrolls are kept. Sounds familiar? And we are definitely familiar with the main subject in the middle, the zodiac. Again, the text is in Hebrew, although there are dedications in Greek for the people who covered the cost. But here he is, Helios. You can clearly see the chariot. Here the people felt that putting the face of Helios himself is a bit too far for Jews. So they just put the sun and the rays coming out of it. Okay? To express, but it is expressing Helios again. In a synagogue. And the moon, the crescent is right next to it. There's no doubt that this is what it's presenting. I didn't mention in Hamat Tiberias, in the corners, in the space, in the corners, the seasons of the year were presented. And in Sepphoris, in the gap between the zodiac and the menorah, they place here the offerings that were given in the days of the tabernacle, of the Mishkan. And if it's not clear enough to you, then you have here inscriptions saying this is solid, samolina, shemen, oil, chatzotzot, the trumpets, and quotes from the Bible relating to those offerings or sacrifices. Okay? Amazing stuff. Although the preservation is not ideal, it's quite clear what the subjects are. And this is undoubtedly another Jewish synagogue. What is its orientation? Surprise. Jerusalem is there, but the building is this way. How do you explain it? The explanation suggested is that this building had a different function before it was turned into a synagogue. And it was already oriented on this direction. Being so, they made an exception. Not all synagogues, therefore, automatically are towards Jews.
But also, do we know when, at what stage?
Time that this is built is not the time that we have the temple with us. The temple has been destroyed. And it is a big trauma for these Jews. They know that they're not practicing real Judaism. It's something alternative. It's a substitute. When will we have the temple once again? So 60 years after it was destroyed, the Jews tried violently to rebel against the Romans and regain independence. The Bar Kokhba rebuilding. Did it succeed? No, it failed. It was a total disaster. Okay? And only in Rabbi Judah's time do we hear of a beginning of a proper relationship between the Jews and the Romans. Caracalla is supposed to be a friend of him. But then the Romans turned Christians. And they're opposing Jews. They're considered the Jews to be the ones in the dark who are not seeing the light. Allowing them to build a temple is not an option. There's one emperor, Julian, who gives them permission, but it never happens. And this is already built after also that last opportunity in the days of Julian. So when will we have a temple? Okay? When will we return to those days? This is expressing the memory of the temple and the future temple. They are asking for the promise to be fulfilled and so reach redemption. This is expressing promise. This is expressing redemption. When will it happen? They're trying to figure it out. One way of figuring it out is trying to guess by the movement of the stars. It's true that the rabbis didn't like that attitude, but we hear it in the rabbinical sources of looking at the skies and trying to predict the future. What this piece is saying, suggests the advice, this is representing the Almighty, the thing that controls time, the thing that controls the movement of the star, the one metaphysical entity that controls the movement of the sun and the moon. Okay? Helios in Hamat Tiberius is just doing the command of God. When He decides that the time is right, when the stars will be in the right condition, then the promise will be fulfilled, then redemption will be achieved.